Viewers across the United States say they've rarely seen a talent rise so quickly or so unexpectedly as Jonathan Antoine. In recent years, the name Jonathan Antoine has become surprisingly familiar to American audiences, despite his journey beginning thousands of miles away on a British stage. What stands out is not just the speed of his rise, but the nature of it. The moment he stepped onto the Britain's Got Talent platform at only 17, he presented a contrast that instantly caught the attention of millions. A quiet, self-contained teenager paired with a voice that experts described as unusually mature and emotionally charged. News outlets, classical reviewers, and everyday social media users all echoed a similar sentiment. This wasn't a routine talent show performance, but a moment that shifted global attention. In the United States, viewers connected not only to the technical excellence of his singing, but also to the humanity behind it. In a media landscape saturated with polished performers and carefully crafted narratives, Jonathan's authenticity stood out sharply. His rise is not simply a story of talent. It's a story of how an audience responds when genuine vulnerability meets undeniable skill. And as this report reveals, his influence in America has continued to expand long after the viral wave first passed. Before Americans knew his name, Jonathan was already fighting a quiet battle that shaped everything that came next. Long before the global spotlight found him, Jonathan Antoine's early life reflected a blend of ordinary upbringing and extraordinary potential. Raised in Essex by parents outside the entertainment world, he discovered music early, but carried insecurities that often overshadowed his abilities. Reports from early instructors describe him as gifted yet hesitant, a student with a natural vocal richness who frequently questioned whether he belonged in competitive environments. By age 13, his talent began gaining recognition, but those close to him noted that personal doubts followed him into every performance. This emotional tension between fear and ability later became one of the defining reasons audiences connected so deeply with him. Many Americans who discovered his story commented that it felt unusually relatable for a classical crossover singer, a genre rarely associated with introspection or vulnerability. In a time when mental well-being is more openly discussed, Jonathan's honesty about his struggles resonated strongly with viewers who saw their own experiences reflected back at them. His voice may have drawn attention, but his humanity kept people watching. When the first note left his mouth, the reaction inside the theater shifted so sharply it became headline material. The Britain's Got Talent audition remains one of the most replayed moments in talent show history, not because of theatrics or spectacle, but because of the sheer contrast between expectation and reality. News coverage at the time highlighted how both judges and audience members underestimated what was about to unfold. Jonathan, accompanied by singing partner Charlotte Giaconelli, delivered a rendition of The Prayer that immediately disrupted the room. A typically reserved judge, known for his bluntness, shifted visibly, leaning forward as if recalibrating his assessment in real time. American outlets that later circulated the clip emphasized how viewers responded to that transformation. A teenager who had arrived appearing timid had, within seconds, commanded the full attention of millions. Despite finishing second that season, the performance earned global traction and became a defining reminder that broadcast media still has the power to elevate unseen talent overnight. For many in the U.S., that audition served as their introduction to Jonathan Antoine, setting the stage for an unlikely cross-continental fan base. His next career move surprised industry observers and opened the door to his American audience. In the years following the Britain's Got Talent finale, Jonathan Antoine made a shift that separated him from many previous contestants. He transitioned from a duet act to an independent solo artist. Industry analysts noted that the decision demonstrated strategic foresight, positioning him for broader musical exploration and a more personalized artistic identity. His early albums served as a reintroduction to listeners, offering a fuller display of his vocal range and stylistic versatility. While many talent show alumni fade from public attention, Jonathan gained momentum, thanks in part to his deliberate outreach to international markets. His performances in the United States, including concerts that blended opera with mainstream classical selections, earned strong reviews from American critics who praised not only his vocal quality, but his emotional presence. These appearances helped solidify his reputation as more than a television personality. he became a legitimate figure in the global classical crossover scene. By the time newer audiences discovered him online, his American following had already taken root through live performances and word-of-mouth enthusiasm. Analysts often ask what sets Jonathan apart, and the answer appears to be a rare blend of tone, control, and emotional clarity. From a purely technical standpoint, Jonathan Antoine possesses a vocal profile that draws attention from seasoned musicians and casual listeners alike. His voice carries a warmth often described as velvety or rounded, paired with a power that remains stable across dynamics. American audiences, especially those discovering him through viral clips, frequently comment on how his tone delivers an emotional depth that transcends language. In an era when digital media compresses nuance, Jonathan's live recordings and studio sessions still maintain a clarity that feels unusually intimate. Reporters covering his U.S. concerts observed that his approachability, combined with a disciplined classical foundation, creates a bridge between opera tradition and contemporary sensibilities. That accessibility is crucial. American listeners who might typically feel distanced from operatic music often describe Jonathan's performances as their entry point into the genre. His repertoire choices, which mix classical standards with familiar modern selections, reinforce that connection and keep his reach broad without diluting artistic integrity. What keeps Americans invested is not just the voice, they're responding to the person behind it. Across multiple interviews and audience reports, a recurring theme appears. Jonathan Antoine is perceived as unusually genuine for an artist operating within a traditionally formal genre. His willingness to discuss personal challenges, growth, and self-doubt has shaped public perception in significant ways. For many viewers, he represents the relatable underdog who succeeded despite internal and external obstacles. That narrative has enduring appeal in American culture, where resilient stories often gain strong traction. Furthermore, his communication style, warm, humble, occasionally self-reflective, reinforces a sense of authenticity that fans say feels rare in classical music. Critics have noted that while his technical ability is central to his appeal, it is his emotional transparency that sustains long-term interest. As musical trends fluctuate, Jonathan maintains relevance by staying connected to audiences through honesty and consistent artistic evolution. In a media environment where many performers feel curated, Jonathan's sincerity continues to distinguish him. Years after his debut, Jonathan still draws attention, raising questions about why his influence continues to grow. Unlike many early viral figures, Jonathan Antoine has sustained a steady trajectory, supported by a discography that demonstrates ongoing growth. His later albums reveal increasing confidence, refined technical control, and a broader artistic range. In reportage on the classical crossover landscape, analysts note that Jonathan occupies a unique position. He appeals to traditional opera fans while simultaneously reaching younger audiences who discovered him online. His American following has remained one of his strongest, likely because his narrative aligns with values emphasizing perseverance, humility, and emotional communication. Cultural analysts point out that Jonathan's success highlights a shift in American media consumption, where authenticity is prioritized over image and classical elements are being reintroduced through accessible personalities. As his career continues, his impact may represent more than personal success. It may signal a broader trend in how classical music re-enters mainstream consciousness.